You're watching TVC Breakfast. Now, the United Nations estimates that Nigeria's population would hit 400 million by the year 2050, making it the world's third most populous nation behind China and India.
Presently, the country's population stands at 200 million and already poses a challenge for citizens who struggle to make do with available resources. If the population boom is not checked, millions of Nigerians would have more problems to contend with.
Now, one of the major issues will be getting shelter. Now, the rising population has remained a major challenge, contributing to the widening housing gap. Now, Nigeria's housing deficit currently stands at about 22 million units, and government must, as a matter of urgency, swing into action to address this problem before it gets even worse. Now, with us in the studio is Muhammad Balogun, Group MD, CEO, GPFI Group. It's nice to have you join us.
Thank you for joining us.
Now, let me ask, is Nigeria overpopulated? We asked this question often times, and people say, no, Nigeria is not overpopulated. But why do we have challenges with our population? It seems it's more of a burden than a blessing to us right now. Is it the absence of social amenities, or is the population just too much?
Yeah, population is not an issue.
Okay.
China is the biggest nation
Of
in the
course.
world. And
India is also even bigger than we are.
And they're the most vibrant, most driven nation in the world. They're everywhere, developing, in the face of every country. And so population is not an issue. I think our problem as a nation is that over time we've not paid attention to creating infrastructure and social amenities to support population growth. In the past, we used to have national development plans. We used to have very, very good projects and plans to develop Nigeria as the population grows. We had, vehicle manufacturing plants developed. We have steel manufacturing. We had a lot of, initiatives in the past that, over time, probably politics had led to the fact that all these have been, jettisoned. So the problem of Nigeria is not population. The problem of Nigeria is for us to go back to the drawing board and go back to what we used to do in the past, plan properly for our development.
Well, we found ourselves where we are now, and when we talk about planning, what do you expect of the government to do at the state that we find ourselves now? So
part of the things for me, I believe government has a very simple role, creating the environment for development. And when you mean environment, there are two key areas government can work on. One is policy, second is infrastructure. And even on infrastructure, government does not need to play all the roles on infrastructure development because globally, companies are getting involved in PPP to support infrastructure development, so road construction, bridges, water supply, and amenities. So what government, and in Nigeria, we've had challenges where individuals, corporates have got involved with PPP and they got their fingers burnt because there are no proper policy frameworks. We've got people get involved with developing airports, developing roads, Lekki Express as an example. And after some time, they were taking off. And so these are things that we need to deal with from the government side.
All right. If we have to pinpoint one of our focal discussion right now, housing, how central is the issue of housing to development that we are looking for?
It is. World Bank, every agency of the world has stated housing as a requirement for development. Okay. If you don't have a roof to your head, you cannot do anything. You don't even know what you're going to do tomorrow because you have to first find a place to sleep. So the second part of that is that housing also creates an opportunity. Second part of that is that housing also creates an opportunity for social networking. One of the arguments I've always had with people when they said affordable housing, and I said the problem is not affordable housing, it's affordable living. Because most times we build houses where people are far from where they will be. So the concept of affordable housing says that land cost of development is an issue. So in thinking about cost, people look for the cheapest land. And cheapest land most times are far away from development, where people are currently walking. So you find people doing 45 kilometers, 35 kilometers every day. There is no living, there is no life. There was a World Bank agency that said in Mexico, the government developed over 600 million housing units, and less than 10% of them are being utilized. Why? Because people don't live where the houses have been built. People don't walk where the houses have been built. People don't want to move away from where they're working and go find houses. The second part of affordable living, which I always mention, is that housing is not about just housing. Housing is a community. So do we have all the things around housing development? Do we have schools? Do we have markets? Do we have workplaces? Do we have developments that support that city? So when we're developing, the concept of affordable housing is that we want to solve a problem, but we're creating another. Okay. The second part also is that in Nigeria and in very many African countries, housing has 3 stratas. So you have the social housing, you have the affordable living, and you have the others. Others means those of you who are rich enough to afford 40, 50 million housing.
But I am not the MD CEO.
Yeah. so in actual fact, we need to cater for every category and create solutions that meet those. So in Nigeria, we say there is deficit, but there are a lot of houses that are empty, that are unoccupied.
In fact,
right.
we'll come to that part of discussion really, because if you go to some of the big towns, you see so many houses empty. Nobody's living there. Yeah. 5, 6 years and so on. Mohammed Balogun, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, with us in the studio is Mohammed Balogun. They call him the MKO Balogun. He's a group managing director, CEO of GPFI Group. Nice to have you join us.
Thank you for joining us.
We don't have so many MKOs in Nigeria, so any MKO is quite special.
Thank you.
All right, now, talking about the issue of housing and population, they go hand in hand one way or the other, but where we stand right now with the deficit, how bad or how far from the margin are we, or how far from the benchmark are we when it comes to getting or finding solution to the shelter challenge we have?
Yeah, Nigeria is not the only country in that regard. Globally, there are countries in Southeast Asia and South America and Africa who are in the same category. The only thing that everybody has created solutions on how to address, take themselves forward. For us in Nigeria, I think part of our challenge is that we've not really defined what deficits. People have branded 17, 16, 22, and also people have not broke down that 22. What does it constitute? And I said earlier, there is social housing. So how many percent of this is social housing? Because social housing has a different definition and requirement. Affordable living, which is what people call affordable housing. It has a definition, and so you need to dimension.
So there are context to all of these.
Yeah, so we just said 22 million. We need to dimension what that 22 million encompasses, so that when you are finding solutions, you are creating solutions that fit into each bucket. Social housing is purely government, and probably private sector foundations who want to see housing as a way of assisting. And so the requirements, the investments are different. Affordable housing has a bit of government involvement, which is just provide infrastructure, provide probably land to reduce the cost of development, and provide sustainable infrastructure around the development. But there are more private-led involvement. Whereas the other one, which everybody gets involved with, which everybody is building, and when people talk about deficits, there is also a lot of houses that are vacant because they have not been appropriately built for the population. So you also want to understand demography. Nigeria's demography is such that the amount, the houses that we require is not being built. People are building 3, 4 bedrooms, whereas the focus should have been 1, 2 bedrooms. Where because we have young population, and everybody knows that. You have people who are migrating from school to work, who just require a single room, and people who are just getting married with their wife and probably 1 or 2 kids who just need 2 rooms. But we're building 3, 4 bedrooms. The second challenge also is that people are looking at affordable housing and affordable development into developing hub cities, where it's far away from where people work. So it creates its own challenges. Those houses will remain because people always consider cost of movement and cost of living around there. So those are the contexts that we need to look at. And when we look at the deficit, it's not a problem. It is for us to analyze, dimension it. State governments are doing, Lagos has been doing, Kaduna, I'm aware. Federal government is creating a solution to address housing. Federal Mortgage Bank is doing. So there are a lot of, but because we have not dimensioned exactly what we want. So social housing, who should face it? So is it state? States focus on housing.
And what determines the dimensions? Is it a peculiarity of
So social housing is basically for people who cannot afford a basic housing cost. So minimum today, globally, Nigeria, there was a development that was done in Nasarawa by a foundation at 2.8 million naira. As the cheapest 1 bedroom in the world. So for somebody to afford a 2.8, he must have work that is doing to be able to pay for it. But if social housing is focused on people who don't have, monthly, income, there may be, people who just earn a living from support and all that. Second is that social housing is also focused on the vulnerable. So we have slums across the states, not only in Nigeria, it's global challenge. So that's social housing. So taking people away from the slum and taking them to social housing is part of the things that government need to pay attention to.
All right, but before we go now, how do we face the challenge? If you go to some of the cities, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Abuja, there are so many houses. No one is living there, sometimes for 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, and all of that. How does that contribute or compound the issue? What should government do regarding that?
Okay, so it's not government.
Okay.
It is the investors who have not paid attention to the demographics. And that's what I said earlier. Yeah. So if you're investing in an environment, you ask yourself, who is going to buy my product? No matter what you're selling. Is it housing you are selling or food? So if you're investing in an environment, you ask yourself, who is going to buy my product? No matter what you're selling. Is it housing you are selling or food? So if you are targeting, and if you understand Nigeria, and I've said 54% of Nigerians are the young population. They don't need a 3-4 bedroom apartment. They need a 1-2 bedroom apartment. People, all those vacant apartments you talk about have 3-4 bedroom apartments, and they will remain vacant for as long as nobody's going to be able to afford it and nobody requires it. So, and that is not a government issue.
Can there be a government policy regarding?
If you make government to get too involved in legislating what to build, you are creating problems. So let people decide based on your appetite that this is what you want to do. And if you see the risk, then you know that yes, it's worth putting your money into. And what people have done in the world, China, and I was giving an example of China before the show. China, in communities, they do high rises, and in the same block you have 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, so you can move without changing address.
I see. That's
interesting. Some of the things that we need to pay attention.
All right, Dr. MKO Balogun, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.